So, Rona Yellow Robe.
Hello.
Hello. Your CD, your new CD, Shoot for the Moon, just came out in April of this year.
Yes, it did.
So I'm hoping you can answer a few questions about that.
I'll be happy to.
Terrific. So I'd say my first question is, why don't you take us through the 4 albums you've recorded and talk about the creative progress you think you've made over the past 8 years?
Well, I will tell you, first of all, I've actually done 5, but 4 with Bruce. And one was done a while ago with a friend named Christina Bloom. We did a guided meditation. It was the very, very first time that I did anything like this, putting my flute on CD. And what she did is she did a guided meditation, and I just played my flute alongside of her. And what that experience did is it created this curiosity, a desire to want to do, what else can I do? What can I do with this thing? And so I always wanted to play with other instruments, and I also wanted to sing with my flutes. And so the first album that Bruce and I did together was Voice of the Trees. And to me, Voice of the Trees is very innocent. It's the beginning of when I began to create music and, you know, spirit playing through me. There's a lot of improv in that album, Voice of the Trees, where I would not be able to play it the same way today as I did then. I could tell you that there's been a lot of growth between, you know, the songs that I've written, like Caterpillar and Butterfly, Voice of the Trees, Gratitude, that those songs have grown with me along my journey into this 4th album. So there was a lot of real a sweet innocence to that album. And then the gathering came, as we were doing the gathering, it was the first time of doing blues, you know, playing the naughty flute with Turquoise Blues. It was the first time doing a cover like Van Morrison's Brand New Day. And what was important to me within that album was taking the song and making it mine, being able to use the flute somewhere within that. And then the way Bruce created the music, that I was able to do that. I was able to play my flute within that. And so, and what's important throughout each song is that I'd say 99% of the songs are about coming out of the dark into the light. And so, yeah, a lot of those, so from that, and then doing the Christmas album, which was very challenging. And the reason why that's so challenging is because everybody knows those songs. And so, it was a little intimidating because I'm used to just being able to play and go where I want to go. And then, yet when you're doing songs like Silent Night or O Come Emmanuel or, you know, any of those songs, is that, first of all, I wanted to do them justice in my flute. I wanted to really play really well on them. And the other thing is I wanted to honor the Native American flute, because there were some notes that flute wouldn't do. And so instead of trying to find a flute that would to change the scale of the traditional flute, was that we just honored the flute. And if that flute couldn't do that note, like at the end of Silent Night, then we played it the way the flute wanted it played. So that was really important too, but very challenging. It's, to me, playing other people's music is very hard, intimidating, and so I wouldn't say hard, but intimidating, because you want to get it right. And so then the Shoot for the Moon, I just think it just took, I mean, all those 3 combined, and doing this album was like, I'm ready to take this someplace. And so, yeah, I think that I feel like my playing has become stronger. I'm more confident in my playing as a result of the other 3. I feel like I understand my purpose as I went through the journey through those albums to get to where I am with Shoot for the Moon. And I love them all. There's not one album, I will tell you, people ask me all the time, which one do you like the best? And I was like, that's like asking me to pick out like what child of mine do I love the best, you know? It's like, this, you can't. because there's so much love and energy that goes into each one, and so each one is very personable to me. So
nice. Yeah. So when you think about performing live, what's appealing about that? What's your favorite part of that?
Performing live, I think the connection. I love connecting with my audience, and there's a really special thing that happens, and I'm always nervous before I go on stage, and I've been finding out that a lot of people are nervous, and I even found out that Prince was, and as wild and as he was, that you never think that he would be the nervous type. But that, so being able to trust the process of going up on the stage and just letting spirit through me make that connection, something happens and we're right there. And so I love, that's my favorite part, is being able to play my flutes. And and the other cool thing I've noticed lately too is watching people's mouths move to my songs, to our songs. So being able to, like Voice of the Trees, when I was sitting there, when I wrote that song, and then how it all came about, and then watching people's mouths move to it, that's pretty amazing. So, yeah.
So in comparison to performing live, what are your favorite parts about recording?
My favorite parts about recording are being able to, when I have the headphones on and I hear my flute playing and we're laying a track where I can play with my flute, or when I hear myself singing and I can play my flute with my voice. I think that the anticipation of wanting to create songs and then being in there and laying them down on the tracks it's very exciting to know that people are going to be able to get to hear the songs. So, yeah.
That's nice. Mm-hmm. So, when you're coming up with a new song, tell us a little bit about that process. How does that work? How do you come up with the concept and the execution of a new song?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's different ways where it has come up, and the first way that we've done it is, like, for example, the very first song that we did together was Country Road on the Voice of the Tree CD, and we were just in there playing, and he was playing while I was playing, and we just came up with that song. And then, fortunately, he remembered it, and then we laid it down later on. And then he had already recorded it, and so that's one way that we've done it. And then the main way that we've done it is that Bruce will, in the studio, create like what he calls canvas, and then of music, and he'll say, take this home, I've taken it home, and then I play my flute over the top of it and find out, what do I want to create, what do I want to paint on that. And so songs like Voice of the Trees was an example, Caterpillar and Butterfly was an example of that, of him creating the music in one place and I take it home and find out what I can do with it. And then the other way that we've done it is just simply, one time we were sitting at the counter and we were writing The Gathering, and we were writing the words. We wrote the words out first, and then we took it in the studio, and then we created the music behind it. And the same thing, like with On Shoot for the Moon, What Man is Meant for Evil, God is Meant for Good. I had the words already and brought them in, and then we created a song around the words. So there's so many different ways that we can do it. It's just how spirit moves us at the time.
And that's an amazing song, too.
Yeah.
So I think it's fair to say, wouldn't you, that Bruce has been a big influence on your growth?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm curious, how do you feel that over time you two have influenced each other?
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe that before I even came, that I know Bruce was already pretty much established in, he's very talented in all the instruments that he plays. And I know that if I would say that if I've influenced him, that perhaps I would say the venues that I've given him. He's had music that he's created like long before we even met. That was just kind of sitting there waiting to be heard. And so I think that if I've influenced him in any way, it'd be that I've given him a form in which people can really appreciate what he's done and his creations. I don't think you can ever keep a musician down, because I know that he was playing in bars and stuff like that. But the kind of music and the kind of person that he is that his music really needs to be appreciated. And so I think that if I've done anything, that's one of the things that I've given him as far as influence. I was very excited, and I remember the first time before Voice of the Trees was even completely done, as I was like, I want to win a Native American Music Award. Do you want to go for the ride? And so I know that my excitement about music was really important, and to be able to get our music out there. I think that what I have to offer as far as my connection with people is also another way for his music to be seen. As far as what his influence upon me is very broad, and when I came in, I had no real understanding of where my flute could go, or what it could do. And so I'm always so pleased to know that I found an artist as talented as Bruce to be able to complement what I wanted to create. And we have pretty much the same kind of style and as far as music goes. He's introduced me to a lot of music, but I like it, and I've shared some of my music with him, and he likes most of it. But I just know that, as far as pushing me is, and making the Christmas album, doing songs of other people, that for me, that was not something that I was even thinking I would be doing. But knowing that I can is really cool. And, I think that my playing style is smoother, because of that. And I think that, he's taught me a lot about, so many aspects as far as, and even creating a song, right? And what sounds good where. And, he's done a lot of the production, the producing of our CDs. Dear Star Production, we gave them credit for mastering The Voice of the Trees, but they were our label at the time. But I really will tell you that Bruce did the mastering of that CD, and when we sent it to them, there was nothing they had to do, because that's how well he did that album. And then the rest of the CDs, The Gathering, the Christmas album, and the Shoot for the Moon, has all been produced by Bruce. Yeah,
wow.
So I think I've given him that too.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. So you mentioned the Native American Music Awards, and in 2014 you won Flutist of the Year for the Native American Music Awards. So how do you feel that's changed your career, and how you approach Shoot for the Moon?
I don't really think that I know last year after I won the Flutist of the Year, that my business really got really busy. I was very busy the whole year, almost to the point of being uncomfortable, because I really love home. I love my family, and I like being home. But however, I will tell you that what it means to me, I suppose, is just that that it's just nice to be appreciated, but that it's sitting in my hutch, in my China hutch right now, and but I don't think that it's changed. I don't think that it's brought me probably some monetary value as far as that, and some recognition, but I'm not really quite sure that it's that it's really made like a huge, but I don't want, should I say that? Can I say that? Because I don't, it's just kind of like it was very important to me that even before I even knew I had a potential to win that I remember telling my spirit mom that I do not want this to make or break me. That I want it to be able to, I don't want it to put demands upon me because I want to continue loving the music. And so that award was to me a acknowledgement. And the reason why I love that particular award is because it was by the people. That award was voted on by the people who listened to our music and went out there and did the votes. And it wasn't done by anybody. It wasn't done by a company or by the Native American Music Awards staff or anything like that. It was done by the people. So that's what that award means to me.
So you really have come a long way from what you talk about, how you started playing and recording to where you are now. So let's talk a little bit about Shoot for the Moon, because that's the new CD. So what was the inspiration for that? What brought about the title song and that title and that idea for a CD?
Well, I'm always really careful. The title means a lot to me. And I know that when Voice of the Trees came, it was a mutual agreement that would be the title. The Gathering, it was, again, it was a mutual agreement. I don't know who came up with it first. I don't remember. But, when Shoot for the Moon came, I remember thinking of titles and how naturally Voice of the Trees and The Gathering came, that we were still very conscious, right? And so one day I was on my way, I was getting ready to do a concert at Terra Tipi in Auburn, Washington, and I was thinking about announcing that we were going to get ready to release a new album. And so as I was driving, I'm thinking in my mind about, what I'm going to say. And without any hesitation, my thoughts were, and the album that we're going to release is going to be called Shoot for the Moon. And I was like, what? It is? That kind of thing. So it was this. So that's how it came about, Shoot for the Moon. The song is kind of interesting too. I love the creative process because there's no rhyme or reason. There really isn't. You just have to be ready for that and for that moment, right? And so we had created a song. We were working with the Puyallup tribe, and sometimes we're just background music, and so we're just kind of playing off the cuff all the time there, if we're not singing them some of our songs. And so they, so as we call it the A song for a few months. It was simply the A song, and then when we were probably not too long after, not too long before we released the album, maybe a month or so, if that, is that A song became Shoot for the Moon. And then as we were creating that song, coming up with that song, that, it was interesting because then I thought I had a very perfect flute part for it, that I could just play instrumental all the way through. And yet there was a moment the day before we were going to lay it down that I had the lyrics come, just a simple shoot for the moon, reach for the stars, and know who you are, right? And I think we kind of worked with the know who you are kind of stuff, part of it. But, just that it just comes within that moment, and you just have to be ready for it and be open to it. And sometimes simplicity to me can catch me off guard because I think there should be more, and yet I know that Spirit works in the most simplest ways. It's our minds that complicate it. So anyway, so I love that song. It's really fun. Got me to do a little bit of scatting at the beginning of it, and then being able to play my flutes, 2 flutes with that is really wonderful. And then also too, the fun part about that song is my voice over my voice. Yes. That's really fun. So that's, yeah.
You mentioned earlier, excuse me, about a lot of your work being about coming into the light, out of darkness. And I know that you've done a lot of work with people in recovery movements and so on and so forth. It's part of your mission. So how do you feel that has influenced this particular album?
Well, I will tell you that I don't think that, well, how can I say this? My people, they're my people. And they are where I began. To even be able to sit here before you with 5 albums, to be able to tell you that that they are my inspiration. And so the songs that are on there, from Voice of the Trees, The Gathering, I mean, even the Create Your World, I mean, all those are influenced by my recovery circles. And so you know, I mean, every single time when I think about the fact that I can even play the Native American flute or be able to create, you know, having the ability to be open enough to allow the spirit of creation to come through me is a result of what I've been given by this tribe of people, you know. So I don't, you know, as far as their influence, I know that that there's great influence that they have, as far as where I'm at today and what I do and why I do what I do. So
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you picture people hearing this CD for the first time, listening through and walking away, what do you picture them walking away feeling?
like, I want to say good. It sounds so simple to just to say the word good. I think that I love the wow factor. I love it when, you know, I love that, doing that to people. Because then when they do wow, I go wow, that they're doing wow, you know. So I think that what I love as far as what it gives to people is that that the music, that spirit through me, my breath, my spirit, is able to create music that somebody who is in the vehicle, right, and they're dealing with 3 o'clock traffic on I-5, and they're feeling tense and disturbed, that they can put in the CD, and I've been told this many times, that it shifts, right? It makes them feel good, right? We can now make it through this traffic. And I think that that's what I really like. I think that I've had this happen to me multiple times. I don't know how many times, but I've had elders and men elders come to me and tell me, I've cried twice in my life, and tonight was one of them. And that's happened to me about 3 or 4 times. And so I know that this instrument does something that goes beyond me, or through me. I will say that comes through me. So yeah, I think I want people to feel good. I want to give people hope. You know, I want to inspire. I think that's really important, inspiring people. You know, when I tell my stories on stage, you know, that's really important. I tell you, Caterpillar and Butterfly is probably the most influential song, or song, and the story before it is very important because of the fact that it's all of us, right? And so a lot of people, you know, they come up and they tell me, thank you, I really relate to that. And so when you're able to find that kind of a connection, that's where it's sweet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So on Shoot for the Moon, you used guest artists for the first time, guest musicians. So can you talk a little bit about how that came about, and is it something that you plan to do more in the future?
Well, you know, I have had the privilege to travel and be around so many beautiful, not only like musicians, but Native American flute players. And I always, you know, and I'm always amazed that I get to have the forum that I do have. And I know that people may not have the same desires to go with their flute where I go, where I'm going. And yet, being able to ask you, Greg Hammock, to play on our Shoot for the Moon album for You Can't Stand in the Same River Twice was really important to me because number one, I know that what an excellent player that you are, and also that being given the gift of a song that powerful to me meant a lot, and that I know that that song is is going to move people and help people to understand something in their hour of need, and so to be able to ask somebody as talented as you to come on and play was very important, and I know the world needed to hear that, to feel that spirit, not just in the words itself are powerful, but for your breath to be a part of that song was also very important to me. And my friend John Sorrento has been very influential from the get-go of when I first began playing, when I even knew that there was other people out there that loved the flute like I did. And John was one of my instructors at the Renaissance of the Native American Flute in Tarkio, Montana. And he's just a great guy anyway. So, and we miss him so much that he would go traveling with him, and he would get venues for us in Oregon, and just very generous. So when we were able to capture Kindred Spirits on Shoot for the Moon live at Saltwater State Park for the Flute Quest concert, when we were able to capture that, and the way that it turned out was so beautiful that it needed to go, it needed to be on there. And it was kind of like, when you say Kindred Spirits, that John has been somebody who's just always been there, very humble. And yet and I don't even know, I think he might know that we have this on there. He hasn't had the CD yet. I'm going to send them to him. But I know that he'll be very pleased and honored, and that we were able to capture that, and that it's part of our song, our album.
It definitely brought a smile to my face.
Yeah. And it was, live, and doing it live and being able to lay it down live was really cool, yeah.
So you mentioned earlier about you find it challenging to cover other people's music, and you've put one of what is my favorite of the Eagles songs on this CD, "The Last Resort." It's been a favorite of mine since the album came out, the Eagles album came out, and you do a wonderful job with it. But one thing that occurred to me in listening to it is that I've always thought of your albums as being very, very optimistic. And I love the song, and it's an important message, but especially when you listen to the end of the last lines of the song, it's important but not necessarily optimistic. And I thought, wow, this is a real departure. So how do you feel about that?
Well, and thank you for asking, because that's really important to me to be able to talk about that. I don't see it as diverting from optimism. I think that any time the work that I'm doing with Truth and Reconciliation, any time that you bring light upon darkness, that it may not be pretty, and yet it's the way out. Right, to bring awareness, right, and so this is what this song to me means. And I think about the fact that Don Henley had done it years ago, and that it was never as popular as many of his other songs were, and yet the Eagles songs were. But that song for me, it touches me in a personal place because of the work that I'm doing. I have known that song for years. And I've sang that song, and I've loved it, and it's traveled with me all over the United States, in my car. And we had begun doing the song together, here and there, never laid it down for a while. Except for last year, I began to do work with Truth and Reconciliation. And it is the healing of the elders and the elders' family, intergenerational trauma, of what happened to the indigenous First Nation people as being ripped out of the children being taken out of their homes and forced to go to these schools that were, usually religion related or military related. And what was happening in there was a travesty, that the children were, starved, they were diseased, they were, beaten, murdered, molested, raped. And so those aren't pretty things to see. And yet it's important that we give our elders a place to come and say, this happened. Because I know that my parents tried to protect me, and I know that our native people, our native elders try to protect us from not knowing what happened in those times. And yet we were still suffering as a result of that. My mother was a woman, a child, who was forced out of her home and was made to go to Lebret, which was an Indian mission school, Catholic mission school in Saskatchewan, Canada. And there she was taken away, her tongue was taken away, a lot of our culture was taken away. You know, when she tried to run away, the humiliation they do is they cut off her hair. That's what they would do to the girls. And so when you say that it's not optimistic, when you shine light on it, that it may not be pretty, but the way that I lay it out and why I've been asked to come and play music through healing through music is because I don't just stay there. Shining light on this particular topic is bringing awareness, acceptance, and action. So in that place, because I never want people to think that the work that we're doing in Truth and Reconciliation is about victimization or blaming. That's really important. So Bruce and I have talked about this as far as, yeah, we sing that song, but we don't just leave it there. The next song will be, what man is meant for evil, God is meant for good, right? How do you turn this around? How do you make this, how do you become stronger because of these things, right? And then brand new day. Because, you know, I mean, there's an honoring. I honor all tribes. I honor all nations, regardless of where they come from. I honor all religions because that's what I've been given the gift to be able to do that. But just as in, you know, I liked what Red Crow said, like in your time, you will do everything you can to take care of your people. And that this place, this is the form in which I've been given to be able to take care of our people, right? To take care of my elders, to take care of myself. My mother's passed on now, but to heal that part within inside of me. Because I was thinking when I went there last year that I was just going to go do music, but there was also a great healing for me to be able to see not just the elders that showed up, but also other races, and not just other races, but also the governments showing up and making amends for, you know, what has happened, and bring in awareness. So to me, that song is, there's no, I don't see it as diverting away. I just see it as bringing light on something and moving forward into a greater light.
Wow. Yeah. So, and I think you may have answered part of this next question already, but a lot of people would look at you now with the Native American Music Award Flutist of the Year, and your 5 albums now under your belt, and say, wow, you've really become a success. But when you think of the word success, what does it mean to you?
Oh, man. You know, I think that to me, it just means following my passion. And, you know, that it's nothing, you know, I know that making connections with people, that's really great. I love it. I know that, you know, the financial gifts that we get is, you know, that's really great. But I think for me, the success is just staying true to the music. And it's not, like I'm not doing it for fame, or I'm not doing it to get rich. You know, I'm not a martyr either, where I'm going to say, no, don't pay me for that, because I think it's really important that, you know, this is how I make my living. But I just really feel that when, you know, I'm very fortunate that I'm doing and I'm on purpose. And I think that that's a real fortunate life if you get to be on purpose, you know, and you know what that is. And I feel like I really do know that music, and through healing through music, and inspiring, uplifting, you know, working with hospice, you know, just all those things that, yeah, to be of service with music is a success. Yeah.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to wrap up with one last question, if that's okay.
Okay.
You mentioned how a big important part of your life is your home time and time with your children and grandchildren. So I want you to project years into the future. Think about your grandchildren becoming grown, having their own children and their own grandchildren. And when the time comes, as it will for all of us, when you decide that it's time to leave this body in this world, what do you want your grandchildren to relate to their children about you?
Well, gosh, I know that you've given me this question, and I thought about it, and I wish I could just have what answer would be right. I think that but there's no real right. It's mostly just like, leaving them a place where, even though tradition was stripped away within our family, that I've been able to give them tradition. And that being there is really important. I know with my grandmothers that each one they're very important in my life, but the one that I'm probably closest to was the one that she just did everything with me. I mean, she was my disciplinarian, she was my she was my confidant, she was she was the one who gave me the hug, and she taught me the native ways. And having that kind of relationship with my grandchildren is really important. So I think that I would just want them to be proud, like I'm proud, like of my grandmothers, and that regardless of whatever struggles that we go through, that at the end of the day that they'll feel proud, and feel good to be able to say and know that this is where they come from. They come from a great lineage of very powerful people on both sides of my family, and I could say all sides because I've got so much family. But I think that I would probably, as I'm able to sit here and watch it stumble out of my mouth, that the word would be, I pray they would be proud and glad that I was their Gokam.
I imagine they will be, and that they'll look to you as a fine example. So thank you for taking the time to answer these questions.
Thank you. Thanks for coming and doing it, and thank you for what you've contributed to helping us make a great album.